Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Multi-Location Marketing Leader. I'm your host, Erin Martin, and this episode is brought to you by NetCertive, a marketing partner who can help you run better, localized marketing programs. Today, our guest is Stephanie Wood. She's the VP of Marketing at AlphaGraphics, a print and marketing services franchise with more than 270 locations. Stephanie, thanks for joining us today. So, just to kick it off, to give our audience a little bit more background on you and AlphaGraphics, can you share a little bit about your role there?
Hi, everyone. My name's Stephanie Wood. I'm the Vice President of Marketing here at AlphaGraphics, and I lead a wonderful and talented team of marketing professionals. We utilize marketing to drive revenue-generating opportunities for our franchisees. We also oversee overall brand management of the AlphaGraphics brand, and then also new product development is thrown in there as well.
Love it. Awesome. And I know that we met at IFA this year,
Yeah,
and I wanted to bring you on and just jump into this story because literally you have one of the best pandemic stories that I've
yeah.
heard because
Thank
you
you.
guys were braver than others. And I think that like during the pandemic, it's one of those things where everyone talks about during turbulent times,
Mhm.
lean in, competitors are going to be pulling back, which gives you an opportunity to gain market share. But I
Yeah,
literally don't hear many stories of marketers actually doing that. And you guys, I think, were braver than others and have a very cool story. So people may be
yeah.
over pandemic stories, but this one's too good to miss. So I
Thank
was
you.
wondering if you could share that story that I heard from you at
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the things that I love the most about being a part of the MBE brand is that during the pandemic, when other brands were cutting back, we asked ourselves, what if we did the opposite? What if we were to double down on our marketing and implement strategies and tactics that we hadn't done before? So at the end, we end up on top. Like, how could we raise awareness of the brand in new ways that we'd never done before and really demonstrate the transformative effects of our services on a business? So, in addition to that, another thing that I really love about Alpha Graphics is how community minded our owners are. And, we saw that we were uniquely suited to be able to help businesses survive the pandemic, but also above and beyond from that, really thrive. Our tagline at Alpha Graphics is get noticed and get business. And we knew that we could help them get noticed and get back to business better than ever. And so we came up with something called the Make It Happen campaign at Alpha Graphics. And the idea was that we would identify 3 community minded businesses and provide them with a $25,000 business makeover. And a makeover included the works, everything from their signage, their print, their branding, their graphic design services, all the way to their digital marketing services as well. And those things combined, we were confident would really bring these businesses back. And so everybody knows a wonderful small business that has an incredible offering, but they just aren't putting themselves out there with the marketing the way that they really deserve to, a way that really demonstrates what they're capable of. And those were also the businesses that were hit the hardest during the pandemic. And so we went out, and with this contest, we were able to identify those businesses and completely transform the space. And in the end, they ended up on top. We ended up on top, and we were able to share their incredible stories along the way.
I love
Um,
that.
One of the unique things, because we decided to double down on our marketing with this, we were able to implement strategies and tactics that we'd never really done before either. And so one of the things was also getting involved in influencer marketing. And that's kind of a newer thing in the franchise space. We haven't seen that done very often. And, even though Alpha Graphics were a B2B business, I think people have a different set of expectations when it comes to the sort of strategies and tactics that you do, and they may not think about influencer marketing, but it was perfect for us in this way. Like having something so compelling, like being able to give the world this kind of Cinderella story of these businesses who had just been through hell for the past couple of years and now being able to come in and like help them survive and thrive. That was something when we went to these influencers and we told them what we were trying to do, asked for their help in getting the word out about this, they were also so excited about it. I think that we also caught them on off guard with having this incredible cause that we were trying to, bring to our communities. And they wanted to get behind it as well. In fact, one of our influencers, she was like, you know what? I love what you're doing so much. Don't even like, I don't want to be reimbursed for this. Please just do the print and signage for my event that I have coming up. And it is just a trade. So it was something incredibly compelling, something so exciting. And being able to go in and like work with these small business owners also was one of the most rewarding things that my team and I has like we've ever probably gotten to do in our lives. And it just so happened to be our job too. And so like, meeting these businesses after they'd just been through the worst and telling them, you're a finalist for this makeover and seeing like the emotions cross their face and really feeling like AlphaGraphics is coming and they're like going to help me out of this. And then going through that process with them, like learning about what makes their business special and unique. And then that's when the fun also starts. That's when like the creative starts going in our minds and we're thinking of all of the ways like, how could we better tell their brand story? What differentiates their products and services within their communities? And bring that to life through just like transformative wall graphics, interactive sort of displays, like creating those Instagrammable moments, if you will. And then also the digital marketing to support that. So we completely redid it all, redid their branding, redid their marketing, their space itself. And in the end, it's just like it created such great results for them. And it was so compelling to our customers, to just the average consumer, even that it achieved a virality that we hadn't ever been able to reach before. And so the results of this were incredible, not just for those businesses, but being able to do things like have a 60,000% increase on impressions with our advertising was unheard of. So when we talked about a goal of increasing brand awareness, like we knew we were reaching that. And then on top of that, we were also able to do things like increase our branded search by 51%. So people searching not just for our services, but people specifically looking for AlphaGraphics. The 51% increase was also just incredible for our brand. And then our goal overall was to be able to get back to 2019 performance. And we more than surpassed that. We were thrilled. Last year was a record-breaking year at AlphaGraphics. We achieved sales unlike any other year that we'd had before. So it was just so rewarding, so incredible. I'm so proud of my team. I'm so proud of our brands and our franchisees. And it was just like so perfect when something that you have this wonderful offering, this wonderful, like compelling thing that you're able to provide to people that also at the same time really demonstrates your brand's capabilities. I think those two things combined are what really hit the sweet spot and achieved this success for us.
Yeah, I love that campaign to make it happen. So how did you guys actually disseminate that story in the campaign? Like you just mentioned
Yeah.
advertising. So did you use
Yeah.
some of that content and stories in advertising? Like how's all the mechanics of how you then
Yeah.
activated that in your marketing?
No. So we did a lot of different sort of strategies and tactics than we'd done before. We always were doing social media, email marketing, direct mail, lots of things on our website, PPC advertising and content marketing, like all of those things we'd done before. But with this campaign, we utilized the services of an incredible agency to help us with the influencer marketing component, worked with a team to be able to develop incredible creative and a concept that we knew was going to be very interesting and compelling for consumers. We were involved in podcasts, like we were interviewed by podcasters. We tested things like Instagram Live. In the end, all of this, we had great case study stories about the makeovers themselves that we turned into wonderful, for lack of a better word, just case study videos that told their story and turned that into digital advertising. So a lot of paid digital advertising went into generating awareness about the contest. It went into putting dollars behind what the influencers were doing so that we could meet our target audience where they were in the right places and make sure that we were getting the impression count with them to be able to convert. SEO, we were hosting live events with each of the makeovers. We did these really large scale makeover events where we invited people in the community to see the big reveal and just have a big party, which was so, so fun. Of course, it had a lot of PR around it as well. And then just all of the different sort of media assets that were created in the end are things that we are so happy to be able to utilize for years to come in our marketing.
And I've been talking to a lot of people about video lately
Yeah.
and how, like you have to capture powerful stories via video. So for
No.
you guys, did you use an actual production company? So it was polished? Like, did you
Yeah.
iPhone it up? Like, how'd you guys do it?
Yeah, we did hire an agency. So we work with an agency called AOR out of Denver here with us, and they work with a video team called Flying Giant. And they do everything from like what we were doing with this campaign to high quality documentaries. So they're fantastic. And that was a very important thing for us. Storytelling is something that every brand needs to be focused on. And it can be authentic. Like there's something to be said about just doing an Instagram story on your iPhone. But for us, we wanted to also be getting in there with really high quality footage that could really tell this story in the way that it deserved. Yeah.
Yeah, love that. And then on the influencer side, how do you guys go about that too? Because
Yeah.
similarly, I don't hear a ton of stories about people using influencer marketing in the franchise space. I know I just talked to Lindsay Simpson from Athletic Republic, and they do it at the local level. So were
Yeah.
you guys trying to find people at the national level? Did you do regional
Yeah.
or local? How you guys handle it?
We did this at the national level. This was a completely national campaign that we knew would also have local impact. There's a lot that goes into it. And I think my recommendation to people is don't be afraid of it. Of course, when you first start talking about influencers, there's the fears that are like, what if they say something bad? What if they do something really bad
Yeah.
and then it reflects poorly on a brand? How can you be sure that they haven't said something bad in the future that's going to then get resurfaced and backfire on us? And that's where don't be afraid of those things because there are tools and resources to help make sure that that doesn't happen. We did work with influencer agency called Sosh, SOSH, and they really helped put our minds at ease with that. We knew that we had something that was like interesting and compelling enough for influencers to want to share it. And so we didn't want to like let our fears of those things keep us from doing it. And so
Yeah.
there's different platforms, tools, like you could, at the time all of this was going down, all of the things around the vaccine were in the news. And we were like, we don't want to be around any of that. We just have this great story we want to tell. And like, you could use tools to even search and make sure an influencer hasn't even like said the word vaccine. And so just don't let it hold you back. And so it also, you're able to identify an influencer who can get in front of, or who I should say, has an audience that aligns with the target market that you're
Mm.
trying to reach. And so for us, we wanted to be able to get in front of those small business owners. And so we were able to identify influencers in that space. So people who are like business coaches, people who are public speakers. We had, an Olympic swimmer named Dana Vollmer, who also is now a very strong public speaker. And she created some really cute content going around, spreading awareness of the contest and what we were doing with her two little boys passing out flyers. We had Lewis Howes, who is also an
Oh,
author.
wow.
He has
Yeah.
a really great podcast too.
I
Yeah.
love his podcast.
I know. I love him. He's got a great book and he's also got an amazing following. And so we wanted to be able to get in front of people like that. And so I guess I just say don't be afraid of, the common things that people are
Yeah.
afraid of when it comes to influencers. You can get in front of an audience that aligns with your target market and just also like trust them to use their own spin on your creative. Like it needs to be authentic. And so, as much as, of course, we provided recommendations on things to say, you have to trust the influencer to be able to say it in a way that's true to them. And that's when it's most effective.
Yeah. And so I'm curious about this just because I've never worked with an influencer marketing program before, like an actual agency. So when you
Yeah.
started with them, like what did they first ask or dig into? Like what did that actual process look like? There's obviously the
Yeah.
discovery phase where you share
Of course.
everything you talked about of like who we want to get in front of, all that kind of stuff. And then are they
Yeah.
like, here's a potpourri of people to select
Yeah.
from? We're like, what is that process like?
Yeah, we definitely created a process for it. So, of course, we had that discovery conversation about who we were trying to reach, and we also trusted them too. We were like, I'm not like, you are the expert in this space. I'm going to tell you what I'm trying to achieve, but I also trust you to maybe think of a different influencer profile that maybe I wasn't thinking of. And so they came back to us with a long list of different influencers, and we kind of split it up in the team. Like, we, of course, did our own sort of digging to make sure that they didn't have any sort of history that we felt didn't align with our brand. But then we kind of had our own assessment where we asked ourselves, like, does this person align with our brand, our values? Are we comfortable with them representing who we are, and telling this story? And then in addition to that, just like, what is the production value of their content? We wanted to have a mix of things that were really high quality and then also things that were just really authentic and, a day in the life. And so through this spreadsheet, we kind of added our own fields to it, and each of our team members gave a rating and a review. And from there, we just had a lot of back and forth. And then honestly, even the negotiation with the influencer, though, is another thing that you have to keep in mind.
Oh,
Like
so it's you
don't always
directly with
work
them?
out. It wasn't me, it was the influencer agency working with the influencer. So I was not the person specifically talking with them. There are agencies who are very skilled at doing that and just can speak the language and handle all of that negotiating, because we have a campaign to run. We
Yeah.
got makeovers that we're doing. We're trying to find these winners. So for us, it was important that we had a really strong team through Soch to be able to do all of that negotiating with us.
So how did you guys pay? Do you pay based off of impressions, or is it like posts? Or like what's the
It's a
model
mix
of
of
actually
different
paying?
things. It's a mix of different things. And basically, I worked with the influencer agency to be able to articulate what my goals were. I said I wanted to be able to achieve this target in terms of impressions. I wanted to drive this kind of traffic to our website. And I'm looking to be able to generate this sort of quantity of contest entries. And from there, they were able to do it honestly is kind of like a mathematical equation where they are evaluating influencers based on their reach, based on the sort of conversions that they see with their content previously. And so it honestly does turn into an equation in the end on what influencers represent the brand well, are going to help us achieve our goal, both in terms of the message that we want to spread and the reach that we want to get.
Yeah, that makes
Or there's a
sense.
yeah, so
Yeah,
there's a
so you
lot
get
of
with the
different.
end in mind.
Yes.
That's awesome. So kind of bringing it all back to when you guys had this idea to do throughout the pandemic, like what was the leadership team buy-in on this like then? Because I can imagine, if I
Yeah.
was trying to bring something new like an influencer marketing program to the table of like, hey, I know that there's no budget, but let's actually double it and try something new. Like, how did that go down to get buy
Well,
and
I guess
everyone on board?
no, I guess that's where I'm actually very lucky. It was more our leadership all unanimously deciding that we need to go big, and going big on a marketing initiative like this is going to be the best bet. And the influencer part, our COO and president, Ryan Ferris, he was always in on this and is very, very up to date with his marketing. And so it was never with him having to explain whether it was a good idea or not. It was more we all shared those concerns about, like, how could we make sure that we get great people who represent the brand and that the message is polished the way that we want it to, and there aren't any negative side effects. So the influencer part, it actually, it was more educating. Not even necessarily our leadership team. It was like once I could explain to them and demonstrate the reach, they were on board. It was our franchisees. They'd never seen us do anything like this before. And so I needed to make sure that I showed them like what sort of influencers we were talking about, how this is really a modern day form of word of mouth marketing, which is something they do understand.
Mm,
And so it was and so it was working with them to be able to educate and inform.
yeah, that's awesome. I love that
Yeah.
story. That one always sticks with
Mm.
me.
Yes, it's we're just so proud. I love that we were able to do this.
Yeah, you should be. So
Yeah.
fast forwarding to this year, what
Yeah.
initiatives are you guys working on now?
Oh my gosh. So I'm super excited. It's very timely that we're doing this podcast this week because we just launched this week our evolution of this year's Make It Happen initiative. And we're going bigger than we did last year. So, where last year we were helping small businesses survive and thrive after the pandemic, this year we want to help mission based organizations with their events. So, we want to do event makeovers. Think of things such as fundraising galas and fun runs, things like that. There's even some very large businesses out there who offer events to help service different sort of missions and causes. And oftentimes those events don't have the print and marketing and signage and digital marketing to help make them as successful as they can possibly be. And so our intention is to be able to go in, work with these events, completely make them over, make a big splash on site at the event, and also support with some of the ways that they're driving attendance to the event leading up to it. So, utilizing things like our direct mailing services and digital marketing to raise awareness of that event and the mission that it's trying to serve, attracting attendance to it, and then just really blowing out the event itself. Like, think about interactive sort of displays, things that really communicate what cause-based initiative that organization is focused on, because there's so many different ways to do that. And unfortunately, a lot of the dollars for those events often just get put into, like the food and beverage and things like that. And just the different sort of print and marketing strategies that can really help reinforce and communicate what they're trying to do sometimes don't get the emphasis that they deserve. And so we want to help continue serving our communities, demonstrating the transformative effects of what we can do, and just making an impact. So we're so excited. The contest just started this week. And so if anybody knows somebody who has an event coming up this year or early next year, go to alphagraphics.com/make it happen and you can enter to win. We're doing two $20,000 event makeovers this year and one big $40,000 event makeover early next year. So it's so exciting. I can't wait for you guys to see it.
That is cool. And yeah, I love that you're just building on it. I think
Yeah.
sometimes people do a big campaign, it goes well, it's like great, and then you kind of move on to ideate on the next thing. And it's like, no, like keep building, like just keep going
Yeah.
with it. It doesn't have to stay the same. You can freshen it up so you're not
Right.
doing something again and again, but
Yeah.
don't reinvent the wheel either. You've got
Exactly.
something
I
that's
think, and I would call it an enhanced version of the campaign. It's certainly not a rinse and repeat of what we did last year. We're also going to be testing out different sort of tactics from last year. Like this year, we're actually going to take more of a brand ambassador route, not necessarily high level influencers, but we want to get brand ambassadors out there engaging with AlphaGraphics, capturing their stories and putting that out there, putting ad dollars behind it to make sure that we're getting in front of the right audiences and just getting the reach that we want. So we're testing out different things. At the heart of it, we are still, Alpha Graphics out there trying to help transform these businesses through events now, demonstrate those capabilities. But it is a fresh new take, and we're also elevating it. We're trying to also demonstrate how we can work not just with those small businesses that we did last year, but also these larger businesses who host these big events and be able to support them too. So there's so much coming up and it's going to be awesome.
yeah, sounds like you guys have a lot of plate spinning, which I
Yeah.
love. I've got a
Yeah.
few more questions for
Sure.
you. I'm just curious in general, is there any other trends? You mentioned influencer marketing, even like brand ambassadors is something we don't hear
Yeah.
about often. Are there any other trends you think marketers need to be aware of or testing today?
I would say so in terms of different kinds of like trends and tactics, I do think, of course, like I have to encourage other brands to consider things like brand ambassadors, influencers, but overall, it's around capturing those authentic stories. I think that that's so important. I think as marketers, we can't just be going out there and saying, hey, buy our signage. It's got
Yeah.
to, like, how can signage transform a business? How can it help them get noticed and get business? how can I show the experience of working with an AlphaGraphics so that some of the fears that a business owner might have about investing in their print and signage can be demystified. And so I really think it comes down to capturing authentic stories and telling them through the right channel. For us, that's worked really well with influencers and soon to be brand ambassadors. But just connect with your why. Even though we are a B2B business, I really believe that every buy is an emotional buy. And so you have to get in there and you have to connect with the why of what your products and services can do to really help your customer and tell that story. So it's more, I guess, authentic storytelling versus even just me saying use influencers or brand ambassadors.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I think that's the key point that I have taken away from this for sure is that you guys pulled out the awesome emotional story from your why. Like you had that perfect centering of like what the campaign's all about, but what your brand's all about, and then emotionally, like why that makes an impact in local
Yeah.
communities. And it
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of I was talking to Jennifer Lowe Bianco, the CMO of Best Life Brands, and she was talking about how they did a consumer facing podcast to
Oh,
similarly pull out those stories that can be so
yeah.
emotional. And there's also a level of education needed in that
Yeah.
space. So it's like you have to nail what your brand is all about, but then like why there's an emotional story and then
Yes.
digital channels galore, or like whatever
Yeah.
channel or tactic that can get the word out. Awesome. But
Yeah.
like starts with nailing that, which it sounds like you guys did.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. You captured it completely. That's exactly how I feel about it.
Awesome. Well, last question for you that I have for everybody, which is
Okay.
what does being a great marketing leader mean to you?
Oh man, there's a lot that goes into it. I think first and foremost, it's really understanding your customers, really getting down to the challenges that they have, getting down to who they are. For small businesses and medium and or for Alpha Graphics businesses in general, we did a process a couple of years ago called Net Vision 5, where we understood the unmet needs of our existing customers, lapsed customers, and people who haven't worked with Alpha Graphics before but look a lot like our repeat customer and came to understand their perception of our brand, what they love us for, what they want to see more of from us, and just what other sort of products and services do we not offer that we should be offering to them. And so, both, I guess, in terms of like the services that they need is important to know, but also their motivators, the challenges that they experience every day. Like, as a marketer, you're not going to be successful unless you can really understand who you're talking to, connecting with that why, like I talked about. And I think as a marketing leader, we are also uniquely suited to be able to communicate that well, not just in our marketing, but also to the teams that like you're at your organization, like in our all team meetings, like I'm always reconnecting what our marketing is doing, like what our brand is about and how that connects with our why. I think it's important to energize teams with that way. It gets everyone motivated to help push your initiatives and just keeps everyone just really, really energized about the brand. I think that you have to be really nimble and open-minded as a great marketing leader. You have to it's always growing and evolving. Could you believe like 10 years ago, I don't think we would have been talking about influencers and brand ambassadors, and here we are today. Who knows what it's going to be next year? Who knows what it's going to be 10 years from now, and you have to be okay with that, and you also have to be excited about it. And then just also having a really like hiring a talented team. I don't slack when it comes to finding the right team members. And it's not about just finding them, but it's also making sure that we continue to inspire, empower, and motivate them. We're really ambitious at the MBE family of brands. There's always a lot of big projects going on that is awesome, but you have to make sure as a marketing leader that you are keeping your head above water so that you're seeing what's going on. Like you're not missing important franchising and marketing events. You're taking moments Like, if I hear a podcast or a master class that I am really inspired by, I'm pulling my team in, and we're gonna have a lunch and learn, and we're gonna watch it together because I want them to constantly be inspired and motivated to bring new things to our brand. So, it's kind of a lot in there, but I think it's an important thing for us to do, and I think we really should encompass all of those things.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I feel the importance of good team members so much for my career. I mean, if you have a good team, you can literally go 3 times faster
Yeah,
anything else. So it's like huge. You can do so many other
yeah,
things right, but if you don't even have the good team, like that's going to
right?
slow you down. So I love that one.
Yeah, and you gotta be able to get out of their way too. Like,
Yes.
super ambitious brands that have a lot going on as a leader, you also don't have the bandwidth to be able to micromanage your team, so you have
And no
to
one
hire.
likes to be micromanaged anyway.
No,
So
right? Yeah, really a team, it's a partnership, and we really strive to maintain that, at least within my team. Like, we love each other, we like to inspire each other, we like to have fun, and we're always challenging ourselves to do things that are bigger and better than before and not just remain the same. So, I think that's important as a marketing leader to really push and enforce that.
yeah, well, your guys' track record and all the cool things you've been doing shows that for sure. So
You.
good luck with all the initiatives moving forward. I think we're going to have you back on so we can hear more about the brand
Yeah,
ambassador program and the next evolution of the campaign as well. So, Stephanie,
awesome.
thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much. It's been a privilege to be here. I always love hanging out with you, Erin, and I would love to be back on the show at a different time.
Deal.